Hey, how's it going everyone? My name's Adrian and this is Rabona TV. So I don't disagree with the entirety of the PFA Team of the Year. I think I actually agree with most of it, but there are a few key changes that I would make, namely with Pogba's presence being there and a very notable omission who will get justice in my team. You're welcome, mystery player. So I could just make a few changes here or there. That would make for a bit of a boring video, but to have a little bit of fun, I thought I'd throw together a team made up entirely of players who weren't on the list. That's right. None of the players that were in the Team of the Year are available for selection. So let's do this. Let's go through this quickly, and then I want to see the teams that you guys have thrown together as well. Speaking of which, this video was sort of a collaboration between myself and you guys as I pulled the audience on both Twitter and YouTube to see who you would include in your Team of the Year and took your suggestions into consideration. Before we begin though, this video is brought to you by OneFootball. OneFootball provides you with the best app in the game, which allows you to customize news feeds to your liking, watch highlights, follow matches live with detailed match tickers, and so much more. Use the link in the description for a free download on iOS or Android. Alright, so for my team, I'll be employing a 4-2-3-1 formation. Let's go. Lucas Fabianski was quite the solid keeper this season. He didn't have the greatest defense in front of him, hence him only getting 7 clean sheets from his 38 appearances, but despite that, he still managed to lead the entire league, in saves. See what I mean about that poor defense in front of him? The man was one of the busiest keepers in the league, but also one of the best. So who else could it be? I mean, we gotta mention Ben Foster, who as well as he came in third as far as saves made and matches Fabianski as far as clean sheets go with 7 for himself. However, for my team, I'm going to have to go with the man who won the Golden Glove Award for the season, Alisson. It's really hard for me to justify anyone else over Alisson for this position. Now, of course, he led the league in clean sheets with 21 because he didn't have to face as many shots as his peers. He made 78 saves to Fabianski's 148, almost 50% less, but you could argue that it's more difficult for keepers to have to stand around all match and then suddenly make a save. At least that's what a keeper would tell you. So yeah, Alisson in at goalkeeper. I don't want to hear it from you guys, okay? I'm joking, please, discuss. Now the first defender we'll appoint will be our left back, and for me there is no question here. If Andy Robertson was the best left back in the league, which I 100% agree with, then Luca Digne from Everton was the second best. Not only did he put in 72 tackles and play well defensively, but he also provided a threat going forward for Everton with 4 goals and 4 assists. All 4 of those goals were from outside the box, by the way. At one point when they were really going through their rough patch mid-season, it felt like Digne, a fullback, remember, was Everton's best player, and through his chance creation, which was second only to Andy Robertson among defenders, he helped save a couple of matches for Everton. Congrats! I know you played for some big teams in your career like PSG, Roma, Barcelona before Everton, but surely making it into my rejected 11 is by far the most meaningful, right? Let's settle our center back pairing before we grab a right back. God, I hated this part. You can't do any better than Van Dijk and Laporte after this past season, but since they are unavailable to me for this team, then I'll have to go with Shane Duffy and Jan Vertonghen. What? Yes, Shane Duffy and Jan Vertonghen. Now, as you might have guessed, I had a really tough time with the center backs, as it's quite clear that the days of dominant center backs populating the earth in abundance are long gone. They're largely extinct in comparison to previous generations. Now everyone wants to be a winger or a striker. However, Shane Duffy from Brighton did the absolute most to keep the balls from flying into his team's net, finishing in 3rd place as far as blocked shots are concerned, and absolutely destroying the clearances category with 243. On top of that, he also contributed with 5 goals, which is a nice little bonus, meaning only Glenn Murray finished ahead of him in Brighton's Golden Boot race, as well as scoring more than any other defender in the league. Great performance from him. We'll see if he'll be at Brighton next season as well. I could see him going up to like an Everton-ish team. But anyway, here's one that a lot of you suggested should be in the rejected 11, Jan Vertonghen. This is the subscribers' main pick of the team because I scrapped my CB pick so often that I went with a popular choice here to be 100% honest with you. I strongly considered Ben Schär from Newcastle United as he proved to be vital to their campaign, and I also considered Vertonghen's teammate Alderweireld, but ultimately Vertonghen gets the nod as he got the popular vote. In this case, democracy works. Sometimes. right? I don't know. Despite playing far fewer matches than Alderweireld, he still had more tackles and interceptions than him, though Alderweireld dominated as far as clearances and blocked shots go. Of all the picks on this team, I'll be watching Vertonghen the closest, as it was a coin flip between him and Alderweireld, but Vertonghen had more mentions and votes from you guys, so I went with Vertonghen. The people had spoken. And finally, the right back position. This one was extremely tough to choose. You had guys like Matt Doherty, or Doherty, depending on who you ask, at Wolves, who had an outstanding season, even grabbing 4 goals and 5 assists along the way. Or there's young Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who didn't provide much at all going forward for Crystal Palace, though he did lead the league in tackles amongst defenders. Wan-Bissaka was one of the most suggested players by you guys, and I can see why. But as good as he and Doherty were, I'll be going with someone who flew under the radar a bit. Ricardo Pereira. Leicester had an incredible turn of fortunes once Brendan Rodgers showed up, with a lot of players getting a big boost, but across the season, Pereira was one of the bright lights in that Leicester squad. He finished second behind Wan-Bissaka as far as tackles amongst defenders goes, getting 118 to Wan-Bissaka's 129, created 11 chances, of which 6 of them were converted for his 6 assists, and he scored 2 goals himself as well. His numbers for clearances were great as well, with 106. Basically, he did everything. Created great chances, just a few less than Robertson and Digne. Shout out to Wan-Bissaka and Doherty, but Pereira just edged it for me, as he was as good as Doherty going forward, but better than him defensively. And versus Wan-Bissaka, he was almost as good defensively and way better going forward. See what I'm saying? Get the rationale? And now to the midfield, where you could throw in someone like João Moutinho, who was instrumental for Wolves, one of those masters of the stats that don't get a ton of love, like passes completed, etc. Or there's Gini Wijnaldum and Fabinho from Liverpool, who were both Liverpool's most important midfielders at one point in the season. Sort of took turns with that. However, for me, the biggest surprise of the season and the first of my midfield 2 will be Bournemouth's Ryan Fraser. Not only did he score 7 goals himself, but his passing made him an absolute weapon. He created 28 big chances, which, if you haven't picked up on yet, I should clarify, big chances are basically chances that you would expect the player to score from. So, Fraser's 28 chances mean that he created 10 more than the player in second place, which was Eden Hazard. Of those 28 big chances, he racked up 14 assists, second in the league, and struck up a great understanding with Callum Wilson. And yeah, I know that Fraser plays on the left side of the midfield, but it's a team of the season. He's playing centrally in it. Deal with it, pal. He'll be putting that final ball to work from a more central position than he's used to, but we can go over tactics together, just between me and him. Dude, I saw people putting Bernardo Silva in a 2-man midfield, so I can do whatever I want. So, who will be beside Fraser in my very attacking midfield? We're going all attack, you know? We got the defenders to cover us, so we'll go all attack. Well, this final spot goes to Tottenham's Christian Eriksen. While Dele and Harry Kane were away with injuries, Eriksen and Son took turns carrying Tottenham on their back. For Eriksen's part, he provided 12 assists, which is no surprise from him, as his passing ability is storied. But he also added 8 goals to the mix to top it all off, making this his second best season in England, as he contributed to 20 goals. He's consistently one of the best midfielders in the league, and I think it's hard to look past him this season as well for my 2 central midfielders. Okay, now we get to the more attacking midfielders. I mean, all of my midfielders are blessed in the attack, but whatever. The 3 in front of the midfield too, that's what we're getting at. The first one cannot be argued with. He was definitely the biggest snub from the PFA Team of the Year list, Eden Hazard. I'll have him playing centrally. And I mean, I shouldn't have to convince you too much, because when he's on his game, he's near unstoppable. And this season, he became one of just 4 players in Premier League history to have 15 plus in both the goals and the assist department. He finished the season with 16 goals and 15 assists and was second as far as chance creation goes. If this is to be his final season with Chelsea, which it certainly looks like at this point, then at least he's going out with a bang. No further questions here. On the right, we have one of the Golden Boot winners, Mo Salah. Now, in comparison to last season, Salah's performance wasn't as good, but like I said in my predictions video, he's simply a victim of the dizzying standard that he set in his inaugural season with the club. Though he had spells where he looked quite shook, he still managed to bag 22 goals and dish up 8 assists for his teammates for a goal contribution of 30. That's Not bad at all. Any manager would be happy with that. Now, you could make a claim for someone like Jota from Wolves or Maddison from Leicester to play on the left wing, but for me, there's only one man for the job, Son Heung-min. He was voted as Tottenham's Player of the Year, and rightfully so. With Harry Kane being kept out with injury, Son stepped up and then some, scoring 12 goals and picking up 6 assists. With every season that goes by, Son is just as consistent. In fact, he had the exact same numbers last season, though this year, he only made 31 appearances. But he's become more than just goals and assists. He's a threat that demands attention. And going into his 4th season with the club, I feel like he'll emerge as one of the league's most lethal attackers next season. And the final position, the striker, and it's one of the hardest ones to choose, to be honest with you. There's Alexandre Lacazette, who's quite the complete striker, but didn't score enough for me. Then there's his teammate and Golden Boot co-winner, Aubameyang, but as many goals as he scored, he also blew the most big chances out of anyone in the league. 22 goals scored, 23 big chances missed. Not so clinical, my friend, especially against the top opposition. Then there's Callum Wilson from Bournemouth, who also had an incredible season alongside his mate Ryan Fraser. 14 goals, 9 assists, but he too blew chance after chance and gave Aubameyang a run for his money as the 2nd most wasteful player in the league. Or there's Raul Jimenez, who was great for Wolves with 13 goals and 7 assists. But for me, I'm going to give it to a Premier League classic who revitalized his dipping season once Big Rog arrived, Jamie Vardy. This was another one that you guys mentioned a lot in the comments as well. Like the rest of his team, he started quite slowly, but in February he went on a tear, scoring 11 goals in that time frame as one of the most dangerous players in the Premier League. In total, he scored 18 with 4 assists to boot from 34 appearances, which makes you wonder what he could have been capable of had Rodgers been there from the start. A pure striker, a lethal finisher, and he rounds out my Rejected 11 FC, thanks in part to all of the votes and mentions that he got from you guys. Et voila! The Rejected 11. What a badass name, eh? Read it and weep, people, and then be sure to comment below with your own team or telling me why mine is completely trash. Doesn't matter, your call, do whatever you like. I thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, then drop a like for me. Other than that, I'm done here. And I think I'm done with the Premier League content for a while, as we'll take a short break from that. I'm Adrian, love ya, and take care.